I remember the cows and the pigs and the donkeys and the chicken.
Born and raised, running in the mud, going to the creek, doing it all.
Goats, we had geese.
We had no electricity, we had no telephones.
Apple trees, peach tree, fig trees, cherry tree.
It was an African-American neighborhood.
Walnut tree. We had all this stuff in this community.
They say it takes a village to make a home. You know, I mean, everybody's just family.
And everyone shared their gardens. What you had, I have. It was just awesome.
This community is situated right in the middle of Kensington and Garrett Park.
As I grew up and I watched and went around Montgomery County, that I noticed that there was pockets where all African Americans live. You go to Silver Spring, Linden is where all the blacks live. You go to Rockville, it's Lincoln Park, where all the blacks live. You went to Potomac, it was Scotland. So as I grew up, that's the way I saw it.
Ken-Gar been here, what, 1892? 1892?
That's what it says.
Oh, okay.
My family's been in the neighborhood over 100 years, the Simpson family.
My great-grandfather used to be a school teacher here. This used to be a schoolhouse.
I was born and raised here in Ken-Gar. Lived at 4107 Pliers Mill Road. Third house as you come in the community.
I was here years. I went to school here, high school, junior, elementary. So I was here a long time, had my child here, and here a long time.
The snow days were my favorite.
Yeah.
They were my favorite.
She's right.
We used to go all the way down to the park, to Beach Drive, through the back, throughout Pliers Mill Road, and Slave Ride.
The guys would stand right down there and with this big old barrel, you know, of fire.
Those tires and stuff on it and make a huge bonfire. And everybody be down there, we go to the bottom of the hill and we keep warm, and then we go back up to the top of the hill or catch a ride by somebody in the back of somebody's car, and then we slide it, go back down there.
And we get home, we're like, I can't move my fingers, my toes are cold. I don't even think I have any toes.
Susie Davis, when she used to have the first TV in D.C. And all the kids used to come down and see Howdy Doody, Pick Temple, Cisco Kid, and all of that.
And back then there was small TVs, they didn't have color. They get the color paper and put it on around the TV.
We could go to anyone's house or grandma's house, and the children didn't even have to be home. We could go in and sit down, get something to drink or talk to grandma or aunt or whoever, and then go to the next house, riding our bikes. It was really a safe enclave for us. I guess we really don't know how protected we were in this community.
Yes.
That we didn't have to worry about any kidnapping or anything happen. We felt safe here. You know, we really did feel safe in this community.
And I had 7 aunts, at that time 6 aunts that had their own place that lived in the neighborhood. So wherever I went, it was home.
If you got smart, if you had thought about that with anybody's parents, you were in trouble on the spot right then. Everybody raised you, everybody looked out for you. If you went down the woods, somebody would say, well, where are you going? You know, serious. I mean, the older people would just ask you where are you going, and you had to answer them, you know, or else.
When you got in trouble, when your mother wasn't home, the neighbors would deal with you, and then you'll get dealt with your mother or father when you come home. If I did something wrong, they'll straighten me up when I got home. I had got it again. You know, that's how it was today.
In this neighborhood, we knew if we saw someone's street light come on the home, that means it was time for you to come in too. So we would tease each other, hey, so-and-so, if the street light is on at your house, so that meant, you know, time to come in.
But then, you know, if I did something, she knew before I even got home, you know, because the neighborhood watched. You know, but now that...
Yeah, that way before neighborhood watch.
Right, we had that sign. We didn't have the sign, but we had to watch.
My age group, we were known as the Little Rascals. That's what we used to always watch. So we used to go into Mr. Wood's garden, and we would store fresh vegetables, you know, tomatoes, cucumbers, lettuce, corn, and we would take it down to the park, Rockville Park, and we had a big pot, and we would cook the corn, and we would make salads. I mean, here we are, we were in elementary school, if that old, and we would eat. And then later on in life, my son came down here with me, and Mr. Wood was 108 years old at the time. And I was telling him about this, and Mr. Wood told me, he said, "You thought you were stealing out my garden?" I said, "Well, Mr. Wood, I just want to apologize for doing that." And he said, "Well, have you ever thought that the stuff that you was taking was right beside the fence?" And I'm like, "No." He said, "Did you ever realize that those sunflower seeds had to come off that sunflower plant somehow?" And we were like, "No." He said, "Did you realize they were in bags?" And we were like, "Well, no." He said, "I put that every morning because I knew that's what y'all was going to do."
Well, most of the black men that my dad knew worked on the trash truck. So 2 of his friends lived here in Kensington or Ken-Gar, and they told him about a house that was coming up for rent. And then Daddy packed us in the truck and we all moved down here.
My grandfather, Charles Hopkins, he came from Sandy Spring, Maryland to work for the Mizell Lumber Company down in Old Kensington.
A lot of the people here worked in community. A lot of them did like yard work. Some of them did even worked at the grocery store that you could walk to, and some of them worked in school systems. Like my grandfather, he was the apartment complex. He was like the maintenance man of the complex while he lived here. And then my uncle, he lived here, and he worked at the Catholic school, and like the other one, that my father worked at Georgetown Preparatory School.
Well, I was doing domestic work, and my husband, he worked for the Sanitary Commission. And then he left there and went to Bar Plumbing.
My father was in the service and was in World War II in Korea, and he was stationed at Walter Reed off of Seminary Road.
My mother and father got here because of my uncle. He kept talking about the place. So when my father finished the service, they packed up the 5 kids and they came here.
Most of all of the black people, Negroes, they worked in homes as maids or butlers, then it wasn't a poor thing. It wasn't a welfare thing here. Everybody was like well off.
You're going to school, you're going to get your education, you're going to do something productive with your life. You're going to respect your parents, your community, the church, and that stayed with us. I pass that to my kids.
Yeah, be respectful, get a good education, and everything else will fall in place.
And be productive in life. I seen my father go out and work every day. We seen our parents go out and work to take care of us.
I grew up in D.C., but I visited here just about every weekend. And I do know that there was a difference of morals, standards that the folk in D.C. had opposed to here. I mean, here it's mandatory. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. The respect there is much different.
Yeah, we respected our elders.
Yes.
Even if we didn't like what they said to us, we knew we better not talk back.
We didn't have much, but we did not know it. You know what I'm saying? We didn't know. It was just like everyday life, my childhood growing up here.
We weren't allowed to make mockery of anyone that could not speak well or anyone that could not read well. We were told that what you know, you teach someone else. And what they know that you don't know, they teach you.
And all those went through was in one room school.
1st grade to the 7th grade. And then they had the 8th, 9th, the 10th, the 12th, they had them split. This was the higher and we done the lower. The lower part was for the elementary, this part was for the high school.
Oh, you had to go to church. You had to go to church. You started out in
kindergarten, Sunday school.
Sunday school, and you went the whole day if there was something going on the whole day.
Vacation Bible school all week.
Yes, you had to attend church. That was mandatory. That was mandatory. And if you weren't a part of the Methodist church, you were part of the Baptist church.
My great-grandmother, Carrie Davis, was a pillar of this community. She helped start the First Baptist Church of Ken-Gar, actually. I remember they first started building it. It was just the basement that was used at the time before they built the top. And then they eventually got the top built.
Yeah. The minister that I felt like I was brought up under and raised by was Reverend Murphy, who did 47 years. So the church to me and the pastor was our rock. That is something you knew was there for you. You knew you could go there, you were going to learn. I love that church.
My mother was born here. Well, she's from here. She was a Steele family. My great-grandfather was James Nelson Steele. As a matter of fact, he built this Lee Memorial Church here. And he was the first pastor there.
The two churches always kept their calendar together. Because when one church had something, the other church wouldn't do it the same day. We would do it the following week. We were always, when we go somewhere, we take a trip, First Baptist take a trip, Lee's taking a trip, we supported, both churches always came together and supported the community 100%.
After church on Sunday, in the summertime, all the families would pack up the cars and we'll go to Great Falls. And we'll have a whole family picnic. They even, like my brother said, they even combined the choirs to have a choir for both the churches, and we went around and sung in different communities.
We just had different denominations for religion, and that was about it. But as far as togetherness, this was a together community.
It was good because I worked in the church. Once I was a usher, and then I sang on the choir, things like that.
Still go to the same church. I went to First Baptist Church all my life, and I'm now 70 years old. So I've been going there ever since I was a kid.
And then I always say, these two churches have survived in this African-American community. They're very small churches, but each one of us, once we got in and planted our feet, at least and the three of us, neither one of us wanted to leave. And I lived in Tacoma, lived in D.C., I worked 32 years there, but First Baptist of Ken-Gar is my church.
I came back a very angry black man from Vietnam, so angry. So it's taken therapy through Vietnam. I've been in the VA hospital through mental therapy. And the pastor at this church set me straight, Reverend Murphy, at the little black church down there. I remember I was crying and I asked him about the racism. He had married me, I got divorced, and he said, son, let me tell you, God's gift to you is life. And what you do with your life is your gift back to God. He knows you were born black. He knows you were born poor. And you said you believe in him? Just be the best you can. And that stuck with me and helped me,
But he was like that. He loved everybody in the community.
He did. And he accepted everyone. He accepted everyone. I can remember many sermons when a dude would walk into church drunk, but he was still welcome.
Yeah.
He was still welcome in the church.
So everything happened in the basement of that church.
And I was honored that Reverend Murphy married me. I wouldn't do it if he couldn't come out of retirement and marry me.
Remember Marlene's Boutique?
Yes.
It was up there
I do
by
remember
Harbor
that.
City, and they'd have the mannequins posing in the window, and we'd stop there and see the latest treads of clothes. And I don't know if you was with me or who was with me. We were up there and we were like doing like mannequins, and Reverend Murphy was walking up to the highs. And I didn't even I went to the Methodist church. He was the pastor. Like, y'all children get on down the road. And I'm like, isn't that our preacher? But we hurried up and got down
the road.
I'm like, how you know?
Since there's been such a big change in the leaderships in both churches, both pastorship, Reverend Murphy passing, the AME church always changing ministers, the church has lost that connection. They have lost that connection. And we're praying for God to restore that, because these two churches is what the people have to hold on to.
Family could always come home. Yeah. Because I know we lived with Aunt Jeanette down at the bottom of the hill for a while in her basement. She had a whole little apartment down there. We lived there.
Who didn't live there? We lived there for a while also.
If we weren't related, we didn't know, or we thought we were related. We called cousins, aunts.
Even the ones that wasn't kin to you, you would think they were, because everybody just had a bond,
They were all into the community and all into the kids. I said, my mother even, most of the kids she watched like after school or before school, and slightest bit of change in weather, or if she thought it was going to be just too much traffic because we had to cross University Boulevard and Connecticut Avenue intersection, then she would drive us. Of course, we always had a station wagon because you had to pile as many kids as you possibly could into the car.
My dad was like a caregiver for the neighborhood. He actually brought the school bus home, and he brought equipment home from Georgetown Prep, so we had access to a lot of things that normally we wouldn't have if he wasn't getting those privileges from the school system.
I can remember us going into carryouts, which you couldn't sit at the counter. They would serve you standing up, and you had to take it out. And then I remember that Hex and all those department stores did not allow blacks in their dressing rooms back in the day.
And we all stuck together. We stuck together. There were some bad times when coming in neighborhoods. We heard of the Ku Klux Klan them coming in, all this stuff, but we stuck together. And that had a lot of fear. And that's, I remember we had to lock the doors, couldn't go out, but it never happened.
We pretty much integrated our elementary school in 1957.
We came during the integration time because in 4th grade, I went to Kensington Elementary up the street, which was integrated.
I knew that we were living in a situation different from the kids at school once I did get to school. There was joy that we were going to a big school and we were going to school with the white kids. At that age, I didn't know I was poor, and I really didn't know how bad racism was in elementary school. It was only until 6th grade where I experienced something was different.
It was really kind of scary. It was really kind of, it was just like, let this day be over and let me go home, because I really don't like this place that I'm in today, But hey, I made it through, I finished,
We had to walk there, and the people were so mean to us because they would splatter in the rain, they would splatter on us, the snow, they splatter on us. And there was some courteous one that would slow down because they seen us walking because there was no sidewalks.
Yeah, that's another
There was no sidewalks. Here, there was dirt roads. We had dirt roads.
As we grew older, it wasn't the children we had problem with, it was more the parents.
Yeah, we weren't even treated good by the teachers. We weren't accepted by the teachers. I remember even the students, my sister, we were all going to school, walking to school, and a white girl, they were always coming around pushing us because we couldn't touch them. If we touched them or say anything, we got in trouble. Well, one white girl got up, spit in my sister's face. She hopped and she spit. And of course, my mom always starts turning cheek. My sister said enough is enough, so got her kicked out of school because of that. It was her side. It was nothing, my sister had no say-so. So that was hurting to us. Yes. And then we had to go to that school dealing with that, and we weren't treated like everyone else.
I only remember 2 teachers, Mr. Waters and Miss Smith.
Here.
And these were the teachers here. Because once we were integrated, it was like we were like, for me, I may have been the only little black spot in a whole sea of white people where I felt already inferior. Maybe we didn't have the best material, but we did have teachers that I believe cared about us, would spank our hands, and report us to our parents if we didn't act right.
When I was going to school, we had to catch the bus at 6:30 up at the bridge, and the bus would take us all the way around Stewarttown, Noah Beck. We had to go all the way that way, and then end up in Rockville. School was in Rockville, and it would be 5 o'clock when we get home in the evening from school, and we the first one on the bus and the last one get off at night.
So then as the years went along, I guess in the Martin Luther King era, things got better with the white and the blacks in Montgomery County.
We also had a program as I got older called Home Study, which professors came in and helped those of us, including me, that may have been behind in some of the studies when we integrated. And so they helped us catch up, do homework we didn't have, that we didn't get in school, that we didn't understand in school. Because a lot of our parents, as for instance, my parents, they did not graduate high school. Dr. Myersberg, he got teachers together. And then they approached, I think, Mr. Henry Jackson and Miss Harrison. A lot of people did not like it, but it was a way to get out and socialize with your friends, and your parents they didn't care because you were here.
To be honest, it was good to get out the house and see all your friends again, you know? You go to different homes. Certain days was math, certain days was English, so you get a chance to get out, you know? So we got out and had fun because we've been to homestead. We had people coming from the neighborhood, 4-H club, taking us to functions, and Mr. Glasgow, Mr. Black, people was professionals, would come back in the neighborhood and grab some kids and teach them how to swim, take them hiking, and do all types of stuff with them, and show us the values that there's a way that we can make it with a single parent, with a dysfunctional family, anything, you can make it.
Everybody was together. All of us went to the dances, and we had trips in Ken-Gar. There was Mr. Horace Hopkins who furnished a lot of the trips for the younger people in Ken-Gar, and then he had developed a baseball team, and we won a lot of the games. He was a good coach.
He would get the school bus and then bring it here, pick up all the kids, parents, or whoever wanted to go. There was a limited amount of places that we were allowed to go swimming. So he would pile us all in, go get the school bus, come back, pile us all in the school bus, and take us over to Georgetown Prep and let us swim an indoor pool there. Of course, that always included having a picnic on the yard there too, because my mother always felt, no matter where we go, what you did, she had to feed you, so.
Plus we had a team club here. We down in Ken-Gar Palisades. That was our team club. We had a team club where we go and dance while I was in junior high. And then we used to go to Wheaton up there, Wheaton Regional, up in that area. So I just had a good childhood days, you know. Everybody playing kickball, little night games we played, 1, 2, 3, you know, little kids games, you know. And we done things. We represent our neighborhood too. I was 16 years old playing against grown men. I'm going to Frederick. We playing against grown men in baseball. There's about 9 of us. We call ourselves the Raggedy 9. We used to have a pair of short jeans and we cut them down in splints. And we call ourselves the Raggedy 9.
I look back and say, I'll be darned, I was born when we had no electricity.
Now, when we first moved here, there were some houses that had outhouses. Just so happened we had running water and a toilet, but it was cold water only. We had to heat our water on the stove.
And you take the washboard and you take the big pan and you scrub and wash your clothes and hang them up on the line and they get that fresh smell. See, I miss all that.
And screen doors open, we didn't have a whole lot of AC, you know what I'm saying? It was, you lay there and be calm and cool.
Well, when I was here, it was dirt roads, there was no paved highway. So I remember all of that, from the sewage, getting rid of outhouses, tearing down shacks, putting those apartments up there.
I'm living in one of the changes. That was, well, I call them shacks, but at the time we were living in them, I didn't know they were shacks. Hey, this was home. It was fine, we were safe, we were fed, and you had your churches. What more did you really need, you know, and you went to school.
The new houses came in. You know, they improved the neighborhood.
They tore the old houses down and built new houses, and the roads has improved.
Urban, yeah, that's when they stopped building the townhouses and, you know, making, and which was good. Apartments, they're, you know, making it better, you know.
They took down the shacks.
Yeah, they took down the shacks. And we were living in those shacks, but no shack to me. It was just like,
it was home.
It was home, you know.
The people that own Kensington Pharmacy, the Parkers, they were a good part of helping also with our civic association, helping get the roads and stuff done. Ike Leggett, he came in and he had just begun to get into office, trying to get into office, and he did a lot to help to do the community. So we're grateful for that. Dr. Mosberry was a professor at Maryland University, and he came and he was a big part.
Now, our parents did buy one of the upgraded homes right here on Pliers Mill. But a lot of the people that lived here, they had to move out so they could upgrade. They did not have the ability to move back in, so they had to find other places, and then other people not within the community moved into the community.
But several of the folks that have been here for numerous years were forced to move out.
Not intentionally, but I don't think they realize the impact. We're trying to place older people to move. Now, some of the stuff was great for the community. The community needs something, but I think some of the housing thing, I think that some of the older ones, it was a hardship.
Some of the people stayed, and I think that's what made the community as strong as it was, because some of them didn't leave. Like Miss Annie, she never left the community itself.
She never left the community. Your grandmother never left?
Grandma never left.
Teresa's mother?
My mother died in 2013,
yeah, but she stayed in that same house.
In the same house.
Yeah. There were several families that were forced to leave and just could not come back and want to be back, and now the property value is so high they can't come back.
There's always something lost. Sometimes to gain something, you got to lose something. I think, but for the younger generation, it gave a lot of them opportunities to come back here and own homes. Now, they're homeowners, they're not renters, they own their homes. So, development does make a difference. Some of us that moved out, it still was good for us. We moved out, we own homes, we started our own businesses by being in the community. Like with my father, he always had kids thinking you can do the best. You can do the best, you can go out there and you can communicate with anybody and you can start your own business. Coming back now, it's different. It's a whole lot of us still here, and the community has all different type of races, all different type of things in the community, which is great for the community and great for the kids.
When, say, a black family moves out, well, maybe a Chinese or Korean or whatever family will move in, well, then they don't come to that church. And I've seen our membership go down, down, down. The more people move out and others move in, they've got their own church, So I noticed that a lot in church.
Mom went to the store and my dad and my uncle was taking care of us. So one of the guys came in, was all drunk, and him and my uncle got to fight and knocked over a gas stove, because that's what we had, and knocked it over, and the house caught on fire. So we lost our home. But God is good, because the man that owned the store next to us, he had an upstairs. Yep. And he gave us the upstairs to live as long as we wanted to, until we found a place. So there was a Jewish white family. Mm-hmm. There were some good people in our neighborhood, very good. Across the track, the Wagners, Miss Owen that lived on the other side, back behind us, she played a big part in there. So there were nice people.
My mom got together with Dr. Korn, Dr. Milesburg, and they was trying to figure out how to get free health care for some of the low-income families. So it started out with, actually they had a trailer that used to come down, and we used to go to them and get our shots. I still got that thing on my arm.
Miss Sal was the nurse that came in, and she came to different homes.
My mother was Miss Sylvia Simpson. She was a volunteer nurse at the Mobile Med. Mobile Med is a medical people for people that don't have insurance, or if can't go to the hospital or whatever. It's low income people.
Some of the jobs, the labor, the construction workers didn't have insurance. The guys who work in blacktop, the bricklayers, they didn't have health insurance. Dr. Colin, he was a pediatrician. He delivered my daughter. He came in Mobile Met, and he delivered my daughter. She was 47 years old.
You got sick, and you can call that morning or just go there, and you pay like $5 or $10, and if you didn't have it, they would take care of you.
I never moved away. Because I just figured, well, I'm not gonna have it any better anywhere else, and I know everybody here. This is a family, so.
I've stayed, I've watched so many people go, and now it seems like I just all I can do is just remember how it was, and that keeps you going. It's so different now, and you don't know your neighbors like that, but that's life.
And the mixture now, the culture is different, which is it is what it is because we couldn't afford it, so we had to wean out and go our different ways. And I miss that because it was a close-knit neighborhood. I mean, doors were open, you just there. Everybody knew everybody.
You know, you get older, you go your separate ways. But you know, but that's why these people are here, because they remember too. You know, you remember if you didn't have a sandwich, you could go to somebody's house and they'll give you a sandwich. Now you knock on the door. What you want?
I've always come back, you know, to visit, because it'll always be home. The community's not like it used to be back then, but the love is still here for the people that are here.
The changes I've seen, that they've made it where other people do come live instead of just, you know, all black folks. It's multicultural here, and I guess that's the biggest change I see. That it's not like it was when I came here. You know, it's people can come down here. I come down there, I see white folks walking around, and it's just like that was a no-no. Police didn't even come down here. So it's really changed. It's just changed.
We lost some guys who I grew up with. Jimmy McDonald, his brother Daryl McDonald, and some of the sisters are in there. Lost Donnie Jackson, Henry Jackson's son. Chucky Love, my brother Woody. We lost two girls who could sing. We sung in church together, Methodist and Baptist, two churches here. So we combined together and sing. We call them Arella girls, and girls could sing. It was Eunice Harris and Mary Kelly. You know, and I want to recognize them because bless their souls. I mean, we grew up together, and I miss them. You know, I'm 66, and you know they passed away at a young age. So in my neighborhood, we did a lot of things. You know, we stuck together, we played together, we made a lot of guys outside the neighborhood also in Kensington, and still have a lot of friends today who I keep in touch with on Facebook.
Everyone's still in touch with each other. There are some people you haven't seen in years, but you know each other's names.
And it still seems that no matter where we see each other, or if we don't see each other for a long time, it doesn't matter. When we come together, we remember Ken-Gar. We remember our childhood and our good times.
Everybody's still getting along, you know. It's a quiet place. I just say it's a wonderful place. I miss it.
The community will always be in all of our hearts for those that were raised here.
Sometimes I drive back and go back where my mom used to live at, where I was raised at, because we tore that house down and they built another house on top of that. And I don't know, just memories. Sometimes you just like reminiscing.
As you grow older, you learn to appreciate what we had back then.
Yeah.
You know, and you try to give that same sense of unity and family and love to your family. You know, even though now most of our families are scattered out there all over the place, but you know what you got as a child, so it's a lot easier to give it back.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to hear it a lot of times. They don't quite understand it because times are totally different now.
Yeah.
You know, but they kind of get it later on in life.
The neighborhood gave me strength to overcome almost anything. Overcome being poor, overcome being told you're not good enough, overcome not having the opportunity just to be equal. So I think this neighborhood, everybody really worked hard, and a lot of folks didn't have the education, but they worked hard and they provided for their family. So I think that family structure was instilled in so many families, from the Hopkins, the Fitches, the Simpsons, the Loves. There was like cornerstones that kept the neighborhood, the McDonald's, that kept the neighborhood, grounded in that family engine. You know, to help one another.